So I'm Michael Toth, and I've been coming to the Barberton campus the summer of 2015, shortly after it launched. At a pretty young age, maybe the second grade, I understood just the fundamental difference between ritual and relationship. And I feel like even at that young age, I had a very real conversion experience. I was also just really serious about trying to understand my faith in a way that's probably pretty weird at that age, but definitely sort of framed as I got older and became a teenager and sort of entering the dating years and just figuring out, how to navigate that space. And so the like the 2 Corinthians 6:14 verse about the unequally yoked, like that was something that even that young I took really seriously, maybe too seriously, honestly. I've had a lot of like really terrific platonic friendships with women, but like nothing ever amounted to like anything that turned into anything serious that made any sense. And all my life I kind of stuck it out with the mindset that if I followed God's guidelines for relationships and just did the right thing, that God would bless me with the amazing godly wife. Back in the first week of this relationship series, there's something that Joel talked about of expectations being premeditated disappointments. And I was definitely setting myself up for disappointment. But with those expectations, I think a more dangerous expectation that I came to understand later was just like this expectation from God that was this sort of quid pro quo, hey, I did the right thing, I'm entitled to this, but coming to the understanding that honestly, like doing the right thing, that's not the biblical promise. Like the biblical promise is we're going to suffer for that. And so hardship is what we're guaranteed. Anything else is just kind of icing on the cake. So that was kind of a big thing for me. But I feel like I do have to say, like, just to be honest, as somebody who considers himself pretty relational and wired for intimacy, that I feel like in a lot of ways, my life's still kind of out of sync, and that like something's not quite right. But also, I have the awareness that like in a fallen world, everybody's out of sync. At some level, every relationship, whatever it is, that's just the fate of humanity. But within that, God is able to just kind of work in that, and we can live rich lives in an imperfect world. I am able to see the ways in which I've been extremely blessed, and it just played out a little differently. I mean, Scripture talks about the significance of being content in our circumstances, whatever our circumstances are, and that's always easier said than done. I think the challenge is just making sense of where we're at and figuring out how to live in that, and coming to the acceptance that like this circumstance may not change. So having like seeking just understanding from God of even like why do you want me here, and how, like, what does it look like to be content in my circumstances, seeking prayer and even just input through fellowship of just what that looks like to just live the life God's placed us in. I think whether we're married or single, I think we need to have just an astute sense of how much is outside of our control. And so the best thing that we can do is to just be spiritually and emotionally prepared for whatever that is. We're all very different stories written by God. And it's something that those stories have both hardship and blessing, but in that, it isn't necessarily the story we would have expected or maybe wanted for ourselves, but it's still something where God can work in our lives, and our lives can still be rich and have impact.